Okay, Evil Within 2 is a sequel to Evil Within, duh, obviously, and is the child of Resident Evil's creator Shinji Mikami. It isn't Capcom, but it has improved a lot from the first game. So much like the Resident Evil, the game is focused on horror and action, so if you're a fan of the genre, this is highly recommended. We are following the story of Sebastian Castellanos, I don't know how to say that properly. Julie Kidman from the first game informs him that his dead daughter, Lily, is actually alive, but is in trouble. The bad guys need Sebastian's help to recover Lily. They're the ones who kidnapped Lily in the first place, but hey ho, that doesn't make much of a difference to Sebastian. Clearly he just wants her back.
I need you to help save her.
Save her? What have you done to her?
And Sebastian is thrown into another STEM world called Union this time. So in here, he meets the psychopathic killer who has taken Lily, and he chases after him. Of course, there's more to the story than that, but that would be a spoiler alert. You get to meet a bunch of cast from the previous game, and obviously a lot of new people in here. The characters are very likable, and many characters really draws you into the story. You love as they battle through Union, and feel a bit sad if they do die. And really, the bad guys are quite well done, to be fair. Spoiler alert! Look at this.
Behold,
This.
my
Here.
latest creation.
No!
Wow! Fuck. It's beautiful. Oh my god. Oh shit. Wow, damn.
Beautiful. A bouquet of flesh and blood.
You sick bastard!
How will I ever top this?
The gameplay is very much like modern remake versions of the Resident Evil, such as Resident Evil 2 and 3. There's virtually nothing on the HUD, it's very clean, and the controls are a lot better compared to the first game. I mean, it's not really there altogether, it's not as good as, say, Resident Evil 2 and 3. Just to make a comparison, it's not as good as those, but it is a lot better than the first one. First one was horrible, oh my god. Feels a lot more responsive. It's a lot more intuitive in a way as well. There are bugs, but that's not the point. The game has similar progression as the first game, with Sebastian visiting the nurse to access lockers using keys he finds during the gameplay, and to increase abilities or upgrade his abilities. However, there are a few changes. Now, even though the game is technically linear playthrough, so you go from A point A to B to C and so on, the maps are bigger, with more room for exploration compared to the first game as well. And with more exploration, you do get crafting with it as well. So you're no longer scavenging for ammo, but you're able to create them from the items you pick up on the sort of a semi-open world, let's just call it. Now, this can be done at workstations or on the field, but if you do it in the field, it does use more material, so it's best to do workstations and carry them as much as you can. Now, there are also a bunch of side missions and mini games because of the large map size as well. Mini games allow you to make progressions faster, so provided that you can shoot targets and hit them. Not a problem on PC, but may be so on console, possibly, I don't know. And it's kind of simple fun while you're playing it as well. It's nothing complicated, and it does reward you for getting high scores. Side missions, on the other hand, allows you to explore maps further, as well as story-related content as well. Now, a couple of downsides of this game is that it doesn't really have much of the horror element to it. Not as much as the first one. Well, okay, there is few grotesque or scary moments here and there, but most of the game is played on the open maps, which means you don't really get that feel of claustrophobia anymore, or dread that something is coming from a corner waiting to pounce on you, anything like that. You just don't get that anymore. I mean, you do get few here and there, but the general atmosphere here is very much less scarier than the first one. Now also, the enemies are a bit weak. You do tend to rely on stealth to conserve ammo, and the enemies don't have any awareness. I mean, look at the screen here. It's like this does make the combats rather simple.
Oh my god,
on normal difficulty at least. Lastly, there's also lack of any puzzle element in the game as well. Now, if you don't like puzzles, and I really don't actually, don't like them much, so it might be good for you, right? But combats are easy with not much of a horror element. This does make it not so challenging. I wouldn't say boring per se, but it's not as challenging, right? Especially towards the middle of the game. However, as you progress through the game, the story does involve you a lot more, so it does kind of get masked by that element in a way. So gameplay could have been a bit weaker, but because you're still making progress through the story quite quickly, it does, you know, balance things out, I guess. Right. If you were to replay this game, the game does offer you New Game Plus mode, which allows you to carry your upgrades, weapons, and more green gels for your upgrades on the New Game Plus. Not only that, there is also options to add one-shot enemies, infinite ammo, and god mode and so on, which does make the game a lot easier, of course. And it can only be done on the same difficulty or lower than what you've unlocked it on. So it is more of for you to go and collect items that you missed for any achievements, anything like that. However, that said, the lack of option to choose chapters that you want to start from is kind of a bit annoying. Maybe it's an oversight, maybe? I mean, if you were to able to select a chapter you wanted to just go through the what things you missed, but you have to start from all the way from the beginning, is, yeah, bit of that. I mean, there is a lot to explore and collect for the the completionists, but replaying this game with cheat does make it too easy, way too easy. Right, overall, I mean, stories has somewhat cliche elements in there as well, but characters are very likable. Both good guys and the bad guys are very likable. Gameplay has been thoroughly enjoyable for the most part as well. It does offer about 15 hours of playthrough, I think I had on my first, and obviously it's replayable for you to collect items, explore further, side missions and whatnot as well. So overall it is quite good. Based on the lack of the enemy AIs, really lack of the AIs, and sort of cliche ridden main storyline, I would say I would give this like 8 out of 10 or something like that. But overall, very good game, highly recommended. Not horror per se, but it does have elements to it, so very enjoyable game overall.